You're watching the SEC on ESPN, and they are expecting offensive fireworks tonight in Columbia, Missouri. It's the Battle of the Columbias. South Carolina meeting Mizzou, the SEC opener for both of these schools. And good evening, Anish Shroff alongside former Notre Dame offensive lineman Mike Golic Jr. Boy, you look at the SEC East, Mike, and this is a wide open division. South Carolina and Missouri picked in the bottom half of the division. But what gives them a chance, they both have two of the best quarterbacks in this conference.
Two rock-solid guys, and we start with South Carolina, and you look at Jake Bentley, and to understand where he is now, you got to go backwards. This is a guy that graduated high school early, decided to forego his senior season and enroll in South Carolina, and we've seen that maturity start to be on display now. He is rock-solid when the Gamecocks need him to be the most.
Our field analyst is Roddy Jones, and Roddy, when Jake Bentley took over as the starter for South Carolina a year ago, he expedited this rebuilding process, and he has recalibrated expectations for that program.
He sure has, and as Mike mentioned, he did that while he was supposed to be playing his senior year of high school. But the reason that he decided to come early was to play for his dad. Bobby Bentley had gotten the job as the running backs coach here at South Carolina, and he said he didn't want to switch to his third high school in 3 years. So he told us the next school that he wanted to switch to was college, showed up at South Carolina when he should have been learning how to dance for homecoming.
That's right. Bentley last week was stellar in a big win against NC State over in Charlotte. Meanwhile, Drew Lock is the quarterback for Missouri, a record-setting week one, off to a great start in 2017.
And it really is a family affair here today. Drew Lock, a third-generation Missouri Tiger. Dad and Grandpa, both Tiger players back in the day. And you see that comfort with his surroundings starting to show up on the field now in year two of this Heupel offense. He looks as relaxed and comfortable as ever, and it's showing up in his distribution of all of these offensive weapons.
Yeah, Missouri in week one against Missouri State put up 70-plus points. They had more than 800 yards of total offense. We give the offense an Oscar, Roddy. The defense, though, gets a Razzie.
You're absolutely right. Head coach Barry Odom told us a lot of that's on him. He can be better with calls and with substitutions, but honestly, the missed assignments and the blown tackles cost them big time on third downs. They were absolute train wreck on third downs. They allowed 3 big plays for touchdowns on what most people around the country call the money down. They're going to have to be a lot better getting South Carolina off the field if they're going to have any chance of winning this game.
Missouri hoping for defensive improvement this week. South Carolina looking to build off an impressive week one win. We're back with the opening kick after this. Truman the Tiger getting into it with the fans here at Mizzou. It's the SEC opener between the Tigers and Gamecocks here from Faurot Field. Will Muschamp, the head coach for South Carolina in his second season. It's his second go as a head coach in the SEC. Spent some time at Florida, but he has a quarterback now, something he did not have during his time in Gainesville. And Barry Odom in his second season as the head coach of the Missouri Tigers. He is a Tiger, true to the bone. Played here, spent a long time as a coach and administrator here, and now the 40-year-old a head coach for his alma mater. South Carolina will receive the opening kickoff. Eighth meeting all time between these two schools. South Carolina has won 3 out of 5 since Missouri joined the SEC. Tucker McCann will kick it off, and back deep for South Carolina, Deebo Samuel and A.J. Turner. Samuel, 1 and white, took the opening kickoff back 97 yards last week against NC State. And South Carolina will take it out at the 25-yard line. And we get our first look at this Gamecock offense. The maestro is Jake Bentley, the sophomore quarterback, as we told you in the open, Mike. This is a kid who decided to skip his entire senior year of high school to come play at South Carolina, play for his dad, and lead the rebuilding effort for this program.
And we saw when he finally got on the field last year, that's when the turnaround began for this South Carolina team, and they've started to carry it into this season, off to a strong win against NC State.
On first down, the give is to Rico Dowdle, stopped in his tracks after a gain of a yard. 2nd and 9, Terry Beckner on the stop for Missouri. Dowdle was a non-factor in the running game last year, but did have a touchdown reception.
And a lot of that felt like it was in response to what they were facing. An NC State front four full of NFL talent. Expect them to try and lean on Dowdle this week.
Bentley to the air. He's got Brian Edwards. Edwards broke the initial tackle, but he stopped after just a gain of a yard. 3rd and 8, and clearly tackling a point of emphasis for Missouri this week.
May have gone back to a few of those extra tackling drills to get over what was just a poor effort last week. A lot of mental mistakes, a lot of eye discipline problems, but at the end of the day, they just couldn't get anyone down out of the turf.
On 3rd down, Bentley into traffic. There's a flag on the play. And let's see what the penalty marker is. DeMarcus Acey not happy with the call. 17 in black.
Holding against an eligible receiver, number 17 of the defense. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
We saw this last week. 3rd down and long. Missouri's defense unable to get off the field.
And really, this is going to be the question mark coming into this game. Missouri's defense unable to get off the field, and Jake Bentley thriving in 3rd down last week for South Carolina. We saw there Missouri not going to be afraid and shying away on pressure.
The tight end, Hayden Hurst, in motion. 1st and 10 now from the 37. Off play action. Here's Hurst. 24-year-old former professional baseball player takes it to the 45, tackled by Anthony Sherrills.
You expected a rebound week for Hayden Hurst. Wasn't for lack of effort trying to get him the ball. We talked to Kurt Roper, their offensive coordinator, but 1 catch for -2 yards for a guy that's preseason first-team All-SEC, probably not what you're looking for.
But they raved about his ability to block and do the dirty work last week.
He's a guy you can line up anywhere on the field and watch him affect the play.
Missouri showing blitz. Here comes the pressure. Dowdle out of the backfield. He's got midfield into Tiger territory, and Rico Dowdle takes it inside the Missouri 40.
And that's peak Jake Bentley. You see the blitz, he identifies the linebacker coming, swings it out to his running back Rico Dowdle with nothing but green grass in front of him.
At the 39.
This is Dowdle up the middle, running through defenders. A couple of yards shy of the first down. Rico Dowdle, a sophomore from Asheville, North Carolina. Grew up in Gaffney, South Carolina, the home of our fictional president, Frank Underwood.
Yes, House of Cards fans will rejoice. I heard from you, the Peach actually exists.
The Peach
right
actually
down the road.
does exist. Back to Dowdle, powering across the 30, and he appears to have a first down for the Gamecocks. Now this Missouri defense, they're going to lean heavily on this D-line. Their coaches told us so much, Mike. Now they have some weaknesses defensively, but they feel the D-line can be a unit to mask some of the deficiencies.
Not a lot of praise coming out of the coaching staff for last week's effort, except for that unit. Look for Marcel Frazier, Terry Beckner to try and get his feet back under him this week.
Bentley to the air on first down, has Hurst open, and he overshot his tight end to 2nd and 10.
Bentley's pass intended for number
Impact Players brought to you by Chick-fil-A. Who are we watching when the Gamecocks have it?
Actually, the two guys involved in that last play, we talked a lot about Jake Bentley, the quarterback there, the coach's son, and lives up to that billing on the field, can make enough plays with his feet to be effective, especially on third down. And then the guy he just missed on the wheel down the sideline, Hayden Hurst, the 24-year-old tight end. Again, watch this guy and watch for some bone-crushing hits throughout the day.
Casey Crosby in motion. A.J. Turner in the backfield. He gets the call, and he is stopped for a loss. 3rd and long coming up. Walter Palmore got into the backfield.
6 tackles last week for Walter Palmore. Again, that D-line great at finding edges, shooting gaps, and getting into the backfield. This is a program that's built its identity on tackles for loss from the defensive line position, and this group feels like they can live up to that billing.
Bentley over the middle, a strike to Edwards, and Brian Edwards with a first down pickup to the 15. Edwards, a sophomore, coming off one of the best freshman seasons by a South Carolina wideout.
Anytime you're drawing comparisons to a guy like Alshon Jeffrey, usually a positive association. Big body wide receiver there, finding the hole in the zone and getting an easy pitch and catch for the first down.
And another big 3rd down conversion allowed by Missouri. Here's the give to Turner, and he is stuffed right at the line of scrimmage. Might have lost a yard. Terez Hall was the first to greet him.
And you're going to see this counter play a fair amount from South Carolina over the course of the day. That time, Hall and a number of other defenders getting underneath those pullers, trying to force the ball outside, and no luck for Dowdle in finding any space.
Well, here's another chance now. This Missouri defense has South Carolina behind the chains. 2nd and long. Bentley has room to run. Instead, he'll throw end zone too high for Hurst, and it's 3rd and long. Now, should he have taken off there?
You know what? He saw his tight end Hayden Hurst wide open in the middle of the end zone, but rolling left, moved a little bit by pressure, just couldn't get his feet reset in time to deliver an accurate strike for a guy that had a window.
South Carolina's been able to convert a couple of 3rd and longs on this drive. One on a penalty, and the other on a connection from Bentley to Edwards. 12th play of the drive coming up. And Barry Odom jumping out on the field
Timeout,
to call
Missouri.
a timeout.
First timeout this half.
3rd and 12 for South Carolina. Timeout Missouri. 9:34 to go, first quarter.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Subway. Go your favorite sports team.
SEC Nation in Como today on the campus of the University of Missouri. And right before we went to break, Barry Odom leaped high in the air to call timeout. Somebody has been doing those plyometric workouts. 3rd and 12 for South Carolina. They've converted 2 big 3rd downs on this drive. Bentley standing in. Floats one first into the end zone, incomplete, and it's 4th down.
Early trouble with touch on the deep ball. That's the second one that's gone over what looked like a Hayden Hurst that had enough room, and a big stop for Missouri. South Carolina last week, 2 for 2 in the red zone, 2 trips, 2 touchdowns. So to hold them to a field goal here potentially for Missouri is a huge win in the early going.
Mike, I'm really surprised that Deebo Samuel was not targeted at all on that drive. The biggest playmaker on South Carolina's team has to get involved. They're going to put the ball in the end zone.
33-yard attempt for Alexander Wozniak. First career field goal try, and it's no good. And Barry Odom is fired up.
That jumping leading to a little energy from his defense.
That is a fully caffeinated head coach for this nightcap here at Mizzou. We saw a jubilant Barry Odom after his team made a defensive stop. Roddy Jones, what did that reaction tell you?
This is a guy in Barry Odom who prides himself on defense, and when we talked to him in the meetings, he put a lot of their struggles on himself. They were not good on third downs, and I think that's being generous. So the ability to get off the field on third downs in the red zone against an SEC opponent, you can tell it's a sigh of relief. It means a lot to him.
Coach took this personally. There's no doubt about it. You saw it on his face in pregame. He was ready to go.
First offensive snap for Missouri. Drew Lock finding Jamon Moore, the top returning wide receiver in the SEC, but no gain. Rashad Fenton right there. Drew Lock last week, 521 yards passing, 7 passing touchdowns, both single-game school records. He'll hand it off here, and that is Demarie Crockett, who maneuvers across the 30 for a Missouri first down.
And you're going to see this tempo work early and often, especially against a South Carolina defense that we know has issues with depth right now that are going to get tested early in the season.
South Carolina in its nickel look. That's going to be their base package against Missouri's spread offense. Back to the ground, back to Crockett. Demarie Crockett to the 36-yard line. He's coming off back-to-back 200-yard rushing games, and maybe a little under the radar, but he's been one of the top backs in the SEC since he debuted.
And he's going to factor prominently in today. Watch them play the numbers game as they hand it off to him yet again here. South Carolina is going to have to show some ability to put 6 in the box and hang with this tough run game and this big offensive line.
Mike, what do you mean when you say numbers game?
So when you look outside, you'll see the bunched up sets of wide receivers, usually 2 of Missouri's guys. If South Carolina has 3 defenders over the top of that, Drew Lock's going to hand the ball off like we've seen on this drive and let his O-line and running backs go to work. If he gets man coverage out there, let it fly and let his great athletes on the perimeter make plays.
So essentially every play has a run and pass option.
Every one, and it all hinges on Drew Lock, the quarterback, to manage that situation and get that count right.
Now, this was an offense that put up 800-plus yards last week. Say what you want about the opponent, Missouri State from the FCS, still an impressive number. There's Crockett. And he is felled a couple of yards shy of midfield. Sky Moore on the stop. Moore missed last year with a herniated disc. He was the team's leading tackler the previous 3 years, and Will Muschamp said his return to this defense huge. There's a psychological trickle down to the rest of the D.
Took some onus on himself, said he probably gave Sky a few too many snaps last week coming off of that hiatus and coming out with a lot of energy and anxiety. This is a guy that was eager to get back on the field, and it showed. He really sold out last week.
Again on the ground. And Crockett off to a fast start. 11 more for Demarie Crockett. 33 rushing yards on this drive. And now Missouri will go warp speed. Lock to the air. Has time. Far sideline. Incomplete. Impact players brought to you by Chick-fil-A. We'll tell you who they are after this play for Missouri.
Keep an eye on these Missouri tight ends. That last play, tackle over with the tight end on the backside. They'll look to run, and then slip one of these big-bodied athletic tight ends out into the middle of the field for big chunks.
Off play action, and that one is dropped by the usually sure-handed Jamon Moore. All right, Mike, now Chick-fil-A impact players.
Yeah, you look at the quarterback, it starts and ends with Drew Lock and his ability to master this offense, but then Jonathan Johnson maybe lags yardage-wise behind his counterpart in Jamon Moore, but you listen to this coaching staff and this quarterback talk, and he's the unquestioned leader of this unit that is stacked with talent.
Ish Witter in the backfield on third down. Witter gets the call, breaks the tackle. Witter into the secondary and torpedoes ahead for a first down.
Witter, usually a guy we associate more with being a great pass protector, even for an undersized back, but that time able to show some strength off.
Lock all day. Now on the move, and he'll throw it away. Now, we talked to Drew Lock yesterday, really impressive young man, and he hammered home to us how much better his grasp of this offense is from last year to this year.
And it's always nice to hear your quarterback in lockstep with your offensive coordinator. And Josh Heupel sang his praises in much the same way. He said he was a lot like a true freshman last year in year one of the offense, and he has taken the governor off this kid in year two.
Here comes Witter, and right into the arms of T.J. Brunson, who had 16 tackles for South Carolina a week ago.
After having only 12 the entire season before, the coaching staff said this guy really feeds off Sky Moore's energy, so having him back out there big for the first time starter.
Kendall Blanton in motion. It's 3rd down and 9. The South Carolina defense was on the field for 99 plays last week. There's the pressure. Incomplete, intended for Jonathan Johnson. And it's 4th down now from the 37-yard line. And let's see what Barry Odom decides to do. Tucker McCann will try a long field goal. He was erratic a season ago, missed half of his attempts. This is a 43-yarder. And McCann missed a PAT in week 1. Kick is up, and Missouri on the board first. A 14-play, 54-yard drive. McCann for 3, and it's 3-0 Tigers. The columns of Academic Hall, the first building on the campus of Missouri. Academic Hall burned down in 1892, but the columns endure as one of the symbols of the university. Ionic, Doric, or Corinthian, Mike Golick?
Anish, I think anyone who knows anything about the column game knows that those are in fact Ionic columns. Beautiful ones at that.
I think you're right. Deebo Samuel, no chance here. They're kicking it to the corner. Midway through last year, South Carolina made the decision to pull Jake Bentley's red shirt, and you can see the dividends offensively. Better production, 5-3 record, 2-4 to start last year. And one of the benchmark moments last year for the Gamecocks was getting to the postseason, getting to a bowl game. Will Muschamp told us those extra practices huge for the development of a young team.
You look at any coach, especially one that's getting used to a new campus, and they'll tell you getting essentially an extra spring football session with your team, especially for the young guys, can pay off hopefully in games like today.
Bentley pumps. Now he'll tuck and run. And tripped up from behind by Marcel Frazier. Frazier finished last year with a flourish, 6.5 sacks in his last 3 games.
This is one of the guys expected to step up big and pick up the slack for a D-line that is used to getting this kind of production. Preseason All-SEC 3rd team showing it there.
Hey guys, something to keep an eye on as South Carolina came onto the field. Number 5, the running back, Rico Dowdle, was really favoring a right leg, limping around, so let's keep an eye on that if they give him the ball here.
Missouri with a safety blitz, and it worked. Thomas Wilson came up from the secondary, and he had some help to force a 3rd and long.
This Missouri secondary had a rough outing last week, but if you look at them moving around before the snap, showing blitz to the open field side, rotating that crew on the back end, and then bringing the safety blitz, the perfect timing. Coach Odom probably still jumping for joy on the sideline if the defense can keep this up.
On third down, Bentley under pressure, and sacked. Taken down by Jordan Harold, a former Division II player who walked on to Missouri and has now earned a starting gig and a captainship.
You just can't make this kind of story up. And this guy, the emotional leader on defense for this group, was one of the few guys continuing to communicate and try and get life out of his teammates on the sideline last week when the defense just didn't have it. And you see Marcel Frazier showing up again in the picture coming off the edge.
This one bounces behind Johnson. It takes a South Carolina bounce, and the Gamecocks will down it inside the Missouri 10. A 73-yard punt off the foot of Joseph Charleston. 3-0 Missouri, late first quarter.
Locke going up top, has a man, touchdown Missouri. Locke over the middle, touchdown. Locke throws a bullet, pass is caught. Touchdown pass, Drew Locke. 7 touchdown passes for Drew Locke.
Last week, Drew Locke tied an SEC record with 7 TD passes. He was named a National Player of the Week. But talk about soaking up the sun. None of that compares to getting a Twitter shout-out from a 9-time Grammy winner.
He made us feel awfully old in the meeting when it didn't really resonate just how important that was as the rest of us stood there with our jaws on the floor.
He said his parents really liked it, his girlfriend was jealous, as Crockett gets the call on first down and takes it to the 12-yard line. But Sheryl Crow, a Missouri alum, big Tiger fan.
It's the kind of strong start she's looking for, and you have to imagine if anyone's going to jump as high as Barry Odom after the first couple series on defense, maybe it's Sheryl Crow.
There's Crockett, he's got some room. And Crockett with another big run takes it to the 27-yard line. A gain of 15, tackled by Chris Lamons.
Anish, Missouri's going to have to get Crockett going. Mike talked about the numbers game. South Carolina showing a lot of too-high safety, and unless they start to cheat that linebacker or nickel into the box, it's going to make Missouri run the ball like they're doing right here.
There's Crockett, that time stopped at the line of scrimmage. Well, that's the hard part for teams playing Missouri this year. Yeah, defensively, we know they've got a lot of work to do. Offensively, there are so many weapons, and a quarterback who can make all the throws, and a running back who's coming into his own and coming off a 1,000-yard season as a freshman. There's the pressure from Moore. Locke gets rid of it, and the screen incomplete for Crockett, third down.
That time had man-to-man on the screen. Saw T.J. Brunson out there every step of the way with Crockett, the running back. As they roll the safety down into the box, you're starting to see that adjustment that Roddy was just talking about here. South Carolina not going to sit and get gashed in the run game too much longer.
Lanton split out wide at top of your screen in the slot. Locke getting the call from the sideline. Edge pressure. Crockett on the screen and tackled from behind by T.J. Brunson. And he looks to be a playmaker that South Carolina has identified early in this season.
Yeah, and a little more athleticism than you see out of Sky Moore. Sky Moore, a little more of a phone booth linebacker, but Brunson going to be active on third down. We saw him blitz in the last series on third down, and there again tracking the receiver going across the field.
Corey Fatoni to punt. Chris Lamons waits back at the 25. Fatoni, one of the best punters in the SEC. Booms this one out of bounds deep down the right sideline. The ESPN app is a fan's best friend. Stream every ESPN and ABC college football game live, at home, or on the go. And if you're an SEC fan, you want to watch on multiple devices. You've got Auburn Clemson, you've got LSU and Chattanooga, Texas A&M over on ESPNU. Fire up the app on your phone, have one game on your TV, have another on your laptop. That is a Saturday night viewing experience.
It's been the Saturday day viewing experience for us. A lot of college football action earlier in the day. The Fighting Schroffs of Syracuse in a real barn burner with Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, no spoiler alerts. How about the Fighting Golics taking on Georgia? Well, not much on the ground that time. That's Tyson Williams, the transfer out of North Carolina. And this ground game has yet to get untracked for South Carolina through one game and most of one quarter.
Gave them the benefit of the doubt last week because of Chubb and the rest of those all-world defensive linemen, but so far this Missouri unit has really stepped up to the challenge.
Bentley, low throw. And that is caught for a short gain. That's Edwards. Oh, we heard all week. I mean, the tone surrounding this Missouri defense in the local papers was apocalyptic.
For as record-setting as the offense was, couldn't find one word said about it in public. This defense had to be licking their wounds all week. And I know we're always supposed to tell the guys in the locker room, don't listen to the noise, but it's hard not to hear it when the cries get that loud. And so far, they are responding in a big way.
But a lot of the reason that they were so poor last week was the fact that they didn't tackle well. They've been much better bringing the ball carrier down on the first try today.
There's the blitz. Bentley to Edwards, and he makes the catch and converts a first down.
I know it's early, but can we get someone on a milk carton? Where has Deebo Samuel been for this South Carolina offense in the early going? All we heard in meetings was Will Muschamp saying we need to find ways to get this guy the ball.
Well, we thought this would be a barn burner. We thought we'd see offensive fireworks. Only 3-0 after one quarter. Can't predict football, guys. You're watching the SEC on ESPN. 3-0 Missouri. Start of the second quarter here in Como. Ade Schroff, Mike Golic Jr., and Roddy Jones. Look at the series history between Missouri and South Carolina. You go back 3-4 years. This was the game in the SEC East when South Carolina was winning 11 games every year. Missouri had that 2-year run where they repeated as SEC East champions. Jake Bentley on first down. He'll step up, dumps it off for Edwards through his hands, and there is a flag down back at the 26.
Jake Bentley's pass incomplete. Penalty flag on the play.
Ken Williamson in the white hat.
Holding on the offense, number 77. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat first down.
That's Malik Young, part of an offensive line that drew a lot of praise from the coaches this week.
Certainly heard a lot about the group up front, a lot of experience on this inside group, but you look on the edge where they've been having trouble in the early going with Marcel Frazier and company, getting the easy arm over on the inside.
Jacob August in motion. Bentley to Deebo Samuel, his first target, his first catch. You were wondering, Mike Golic Jr., after the first quarter, where's Deebo? Still stuck in Friday? He now makes his Saturday appearance.
Who else wants some of Deebo? Probably the South Carolina offense right now. And we heard Will Muschamp say in the meeting, he was telling Kurt Roper, we need to find ways to get this guy the ball. Last week we saw some creative motions. They're getting him on the screen coming back towards the center of the field.
Samuel, 3 touchdowns last week against NC State, 2 receiving and 1 on a kick return. Again, the blitz. And a slant to Edwards sets up a 3rd and long after a gain of 6. Roddy, what makes Deebo Samuel such a dangerous weapon for this South Carolina offense?
Well, Deebo can do it all. He can do it in the run game. He can do it in the pass game. He can do it in the return game. He's a guy that they'll motion across, take jet sweeps. He scored in 4 different ways since he's been at South Carolina. He's even thrown a touchdown pass. I mean, this is a guy that can line up anywhere on the field. And as soon as he gets the ball in his hands, the opposing coaches hold their breath and hope that they can corral him.
And his nickname comes from the movie. His dad said he liked to take things. That's incomplete, intended for Edwards. And it's 4th down for South Carolina. This Missouri defense looks nothing like the one we saw a week ago.
The coaching staff talked about they felt like they put guys in some compromised positions last week. So what we've seen in the early going, a few less blitzes and a little more drop 8 on 3rd down where, listen, Jake Bentley got comfortable throwing against pressure last week, so what does Missouri do? Change it up and make you throw into some tighter windows with a few more bodies.
Joseph Charlton's last punt was 73 yards. Jonathan Johnson back at the 25. High kick. Fair catch is called for. This one bounces. Takes a Missouri bounce back near the 40-yard line. Only a 29-yard punt. Still 3-0 Missouri here in the first half in Como. Taco Bell is a proud partner of the College Football Playoff. Be on the lookout for Taco Bell student sections and passionate fans at games all season long. All those fans in full Tiger spirit here, week 2 on the campus of the University of Missouri. 3-0 Mizzou on top of South Carolina. SEC opener for both schools. Drew Lock to the air, floats one over the middle, that's caught. All the way to the house, Jason Reese, the tight end. Two catches this season for Reese, 2 touchdowns.
Hell of an average from the elder statesman in this tight end group, the 5th-year senior. Only 8 catches for 97 yards last season. Getting a lot of that production out of the way early in this one.
PAT by McCann is good. A 61-yard strike, block to Reese.
Again, you check this one out. This is what happens when you get lulled into a false sense of security. They keep handing the ball off to Crockett, pounding away. These running backs are usually the ones you follow in the run game. Drew Lock only 2 of 7 before that pass. So what do? They get back to their big athletic playmakers in the middle, and you catch the defense falling asleep. TJ Brunson up and biting on that run.
And how about Drew Lock with the great ball control and the fantastic fake? And then on the back end, Jason Reese, that's a 6'5", 250-pound tight end running away from DBs. That is a large human being moving swiftly down the field. I mean, impressive.
We talk about Missouri's weapons, the quarterback, the running back, the receivers. They have a trio of very good tight ends as well.
They put those guys all on the field together last week in a lineup that looked more like an NBA group than an NCAA group. We know Kendall Blanton, number 11, one of their other tight ends, actually played high school basketball against Drew Lock. So these guys are used to the hardwood, but doing all right on the turf.
A chance for Deebo Samuel, who took a kickback 97 yards last week. Samuel breaks a tackle, off to the races. Deebo down the sideline, 1 man to beat, and Deebo is gone!
I just can't understand what you were thinking of kicking to Deebo Samuel after what we saw last week. You had done such a great job of putting the ball back through the end zone, off to the sides. but he gets the ball in his hands. Magic happens.
Guys, that looked almost exactly like the kickoff that he took back for a touchdown against NC State. Kick to the right hash, and he ends up making a man miss and going up the left sideline for a touchdown.
PAT by Wozniak is good. Golic and Debo, 2 kick returns this season, both 97-yard touchdown returns.
I think I know what the game plan should be going forward for the Missouri kicking game.
Debo Samuel, like riding your bike.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by the exceptionally indulgent Lexus ES. Go ahead, spoil yourself. And Domino's, order online at Domino's.com.
Now there again, the columns of Academic Hall, the first building on the campus of Missouri. Debo Samuel with a kick return touchdown, his second in as many games. The Gamecocks on the board as Missouri will watch this one go into the end zone. And we told you, Debo gets his nickname from the movie Friday, so we figured, tail of the tape, right? Debo versus Debo.
Debo. I know which one of these Debos I probably wouldn't want to see in a fight, but the one I wouldn't want to see lined up in the end zone ready to return a kick is Debo Samuel. Now the only player in South Carolina history with 3 kick return touchdowns.
So why kick it to him?
It defies reason to this point. You can only hope that was a mishit, because if it was intentionally shortened in the middle of the field, we've got a lot of problems, and I don't know if they're going to get solved anytime soon.
Missouri back on offense from its own 25. Drew Lock throwing far side, intercepted. Picked off by the freshman Jamiest Williams. And the pendulum has swung violently towards South Carolina.
Top incoming recruit in last year's class, number 39 on the ESPN 300, and you can see why. We knew the nickel package was going to get a lot of work today. That time, just read and react. He puts that foot in the ground, comes underneath.
Yeah, that's an interception. First career pick for Jamiest Williams. A top 40 recruit coming out of high school. And South Carolina now works with a short field. Here's Debo Samuel on the jet sweep. Samuel skips across the 20. Debo into the end zone again.
Ask and you shall receive. That time led into the end zone by a convoy. Brian Edwards on the lead there. Get you a wide receiver that can do both, Anish. Brian Edwards that time. We've talked a lot about the Missouri wide receivers and how much they love blocking. Brian Edwards making his presence felt on that one, as we finally saw some of the offensive creativity with Debo Samuel.
And Golic, you're a poker player, right?
Oh, yeah.
It feels like South Carolina slow played Debo in this game.
They really did, but when it mattered, they put those cards all down and felt pretty good about their hand. Anish, we talked to Coach Odom about playing clean football in this game, referencing the defensive side. Well, what do you have in the last couple of plays here? You've got a kickoff return for a touchdown, you've got an interception, and you've got more missed tackles on the Debo Samuel touchdown run. The nightmare quickly becoming real. Look at Hayden Hurst again. You follow the tight ends in this game, you will usually find the run blocks, and Hurst already with 1 reception this game, but really relishes that opportunity to get out into space and make contact. That time, Caleb Pruitt on the receiving end.
And I absolutely love the play call by Kurt Roper. When you have a point guard who's got a hot hand from 3, you feed him. When you have a guy like Debo Samuel who just took a kickback for the touchdown, let's put the ball in his hands and let that man go to work.
Samuel now has scored 5 touchdowns this season, 2 receiving, 2 kick returns, and a rushing TD. Mizzou will have it at the 25. All-State is proud to be part of the team that comes together to do good by contributing to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kicked. To date, All-State has contributed millions in scholarship funds. A goal like this feels a lot like what we saw from South Carolina last week. If you looked at the box score, NC State almost had twice as many yards. Where did the Gamecocks make up the difference? Special teams. They had a kick return TD in that game. They also had 14 points off turnovers.
2 big forced fumbles last weekend from Dante Sawyer. This time now, the freshman Jamias Williams coming up with the big play there. Let's see if Missouri gets back to some of that ground and pound they had so much success with in the first quarter.
And they'll go back to the ground here. And that is the freshman Larry Roundatree out of Raleigh. He really impressed coaches in fall camp, and he picks up 5.
Great vision, and that time following his puller around, getting into space. This should be the Missouri drive. Get back to what got you up originally in this game.
They'll keep it on the ground, and a short gain that time by Roundatree. So 3rd down coming up. Once more to Roundatree, looking for running room, and able to find enough wiggle to pick up the first.
Really like a play call by Missouri. We've talked a couple of times about the numbers, but if the numbers aren't in your favor in the pass game, you have to stay patient and continue to gash them in the run. It's going to be absolutely paramount that they don't get too outside of themselves. They don't get away from it, and I think that's what they did on that Drew Lock interception. They got a little impatient, wanted to get the ball in their playmakers' hands, and it ended up in the interception.
Exactly. You get antsy and you try to force things. Now you see them forcing it the other way. Maybe the numbers say throw it, and Drew Lock says, no, I'm going to let my big boys up front start to go to work and try and wear out the South Carolina defensive front.
And that one batted down by Dante Sawyer, a former junior college transfer from East Mississippi, a.k.a. Last Chance U.
Our Netflix viewers may recognize that school's name, and you may recognize Dante Sawyer from a big performance last week for this team. Again, 2 forced fumbles that led directly to 2 touchdowns for South Carolina.
Trips right here on 3rd and 9. Six defensive backs in the game for South Carolina. Rushing 4, Lock. Evading the pressure, on the run, throws near sideline, and quickly to make the tackle is Jamias Williams on the catch by Mason, 4th down.
That time an interesting pressure from South Carolina. DJ Wanham, the defensive end, all the way out in coverage near the sideline and comes screaming towards the quarterback, but the rest of his brothers on the D-line went to work in what was essentially a 3.5-man rush.
Chris Cotter with an update on LSU after this punt. That's Golik's workout buddy. Fatoni, good kick, fair catch signal by Lamons, and we say hello to Chris.
Chris Cotter voted back in high school most likely to be curling in the squat rack, and things haven't changed here in 2017.
Now, you said when he goes to the gym, he's all biceps and triceps, right?
He's trying to make sure that the tailor gets a workout when he's got to get fitted for these nice suits you see him wearing.
Well, you don't have to see below the waist, right? I mean, you're sitting at the desk, so got to be top heavy.
Exactly. Get those upper body hamstrings working.
We love you, Chris. Rico Dowdle. And that's a gain of 4. Now you saw number 13 for Missouri read the snap count and get into the backfield a little too quickly there, but we saw that all of week 1 against Missouri State. Rashad Brandon, a junior college kid, he's got great, as they say, get off.
It's your worst nightmare as an offensive lineman, especially in the middle of that line. If you're a center, you're preoccupied with trying to get that ball back there, and all of a sudden you've got this big 300-plus pound berserker going right past your shoulder.
On second down, Bentley. He's got Deebo Samuel. And a first down for South Carolina, a gain of 5. Caleb Pruitt on the tackle.
We asked for him, and he's been out in full force now. An easy slant to the inside, nice pitch and catch. Start to get Jake Bentley into a bit of a rhythm as well. It's been a helter-skelter game for him in the early going.
Bentley, 9 out of 13, 73 yards. Dowdle bounces off the defender, gets to the 27, second down. Back to Dowdle, and somehow gets free and gets to the 30. Third down and about 3 coming up.
Rico Dowdle in some good company. Last year was the first true freshman to lead the Gamecocks in rushing since a guy Jake Bentley knows very well in Marcus Lattimore.
Yeah, Marcus Lattimore played at Burns High School in Duncan, South Carolina, and the coach at Burns was Jake's dad, Bobby, who's now the running backs coach here at South Carolina, and Marcus Lattimore was an idol of young Jake growing up.
The young ball boy says he still gets texts from Lattimore, checking in on him now, and has a lot to be excited about.
Tigers showing blitz. Now they'll back off and rush 4. Broken up, intended for Hurst, and a flag on the play on DeMarcus Acey. That's the second time he's been whistled tonight.
Trying to target the tight end. Hayden Hurst, get him back involved in this passing game, and got there just a little too early.
Pass interference, defense number 17. The penalty will place the ball at the spot of the foul and includes an automatic first down.
Good sell job on that by the tight end. The elder statesman here, the 24-year-old, Lord knows on the bus rides with the Pirates minor league.
Acey struggled a little last week. Flagged twice in the first half tonight. Tyson Williams into the game at running back for South Carolina. There's the screen to Deebo. One cut across the 40. Look at those moves. And Deebo Samuel to the 46-yard line. You can see, if you haven't seen this kid, Roddy, you can see clearly why he's one of the most dynamic playmakers in the SEC.
Well, we've seen it all already. I mean, you saw the long speed, and on this play, you see him make everybody miss in a phone booth. He is so dynamic, and we've been blowing him up and talking a lot about him and how many different ways he can affect the game. But even when he's not touching the ball, believe me, this Missouri defense knows exactly where he is, and that's where their eyes are.
Bentley under center, 2 tight ends. Hand off to Williams, running strong side. He'll cut it back and into Tiger territory.
Number 27, Tyson Williams.
Saw Hayden Hurst going to work again on that long run before. This guy just makes a living out in space. Absolutely bone-crushing hits on the much smaller defensive backs.
That's what they love about him. He's one of the best tight end prospects in all the FBS. A great pass catcher. Last year, he set the South Carolina record for most reception and receiving yards in a season by a tight end. But boy, his blocking is next level as well. Williams up the middle, looking for some running room. And third down for South Carolina.
I've been really impressed with the South Carolina running backs on this play, really hugging their blocks in the hole, trying to get those extra yards, getting on the edges of guys. So that means making those slight movements to get closer to your blockers. So even if there's a free runner in the hole, you're able to slide through for a couple extra yards. And that's what happened right there by Tyson Williams. Did a fantastic job of hugging tight to the center, getting right off of his butt and falling forward.
On third down, Bentley to Edwards for a first down and a flag at the end of the play.
Pass complete to number 89, Brian Edwards. Penalty flag on the play.
Sixth catch by Edwards if it stands.
Ineligible receiver downfield. Offense, number 81 is covered up. 5-yard penalty for the previous spot. Repeat third down.
And those are the kind of mental errors you just can't have in a close football game. We've talked all over, hammered it. These teams want to be clean. Well, those kind of simple errors are the things that get you beat. That's losing football.
So 3rd and 3, now 3rd and 8.
Unusual from Hayden Hurst, too, who is a leader in a lot of
his
ways.
praises.
He really needs to think of the guys in the booth.
You know. Bentley standing in, takes a hit, incomplete. Intended for Edwards. Missouri brought the safety Wilson that time on the blitz.
Bringing the pressure from his backside there. Bentley usually so great at diagnosing the blitz, but this time just can't see it coming.
Looked like there was a little bit of a mix-up between receiver and quarterback. Jake Bentley expected Bryan Edwards to run inside like a dig. Bryan Edwards came right back down the stem towards his quarterback more like a curl, and that's why that pass is a little bit off.
Jonathan Johnson.
So Charlton to punt it away. This one bounces out of bounds. Let's see where they mark it. Marked at the 22. That's where Missouri takes over after a 30-yard punt. Sunday NFL Countdown comes to you at 10 a.m. Eastern. Rex Ryan, Charles Woodson, Matt Hasselbeck, Randy Moss, Mort Shefty, and a new host, Samantha Ponder. They'll have all the early breaking stories, injury updates, and preview each game. And then Monday Night Football, a doubleheader. Adrian Peterson, now with the Saints, returns to Minnesota. And then in the late game, the Los Angeles Chargers against the Broncos, both teams with new head coaches. Demorier Crockett on the sweep, looking for the edge. And then is dropped after a gain of 3. This Missouri offensive line is mountainous, and we figured we'd give them a nickname. I don't know if it will stick, but how about the Ozarks to stay with our Netflix theme in this first half?
It really is. It couldn't be more popular right now, and I think it's fitting for this group. These guys have really been the backbone of a productive offense, and we've seen them really leaned on today by this staff.
Josh Heupel, the offensive coordinator, told us, listen, we want, quote, big, massive dudes. And this O-line in sheer mass, in sheer average size, is bigger than that of the Kansas City Chiefs.
All those trips to the Olive Garden every week with their quarterback, Drew Lock, the weekly O-line meal, endless soup, salad, and breadsticks starting to pay off.
Yeah, right. It's a Monday phenomenon. Now, you were an offensive lineman at Notre Dame. Where did you guys go?
Antonio's in South Bend, Indiana. Bottomless pasta and pizza. Tommy Rees, Dane Christen Company always took care of the big boys.
Timeout of this half.
Timeout, Missouri. They've got one left.
This will be a
How
30-second
important
timeout.
is that, the relationship between O-line and quarterback?
It's critical, and you always talk about in the offensive line room seeing everything through the same set of eyes. That goes doubly for you and your quarterback. When it comes to these run-pass options, when it comes to seeing how many guys they've got in the box, when it comes to setting protections, the quarterback is usually always working in concert with his centers, with the guys on the line that can communicate what they're seeing and what they're looking for, while the quarterback's off trying to read the shell, trying to see where safeties are. They get a little more of a micro view of the defense.
And as a former running back, there's nothing better than a well-fed, happy O-lineman that you're on the same page with. And I can tell you, Demorian Crockett probably feels safer than anybody on campus with those big guys walking around with him.
You know, Ronnie, yesterday when we went out to Shakespeare's Pizza for lunch, Golick was getting into that stage where he was hungry, nearly hangry. I'm glad we fed him.
That's what you have to do with those linemen. Once they kind of get that look in their eye, they start searching for food, you better get some food in front of them before they eat you.
I look at pizza the same way I used to look at defensive linemen.
So you really like defensive linemen?
Really like defensive linemen. All the linemen hit me a lot harder than the pizza did. Had a much better time at Shakespeare's.
There's Crockett. He's close to a first down. It'll bring up fourth down. 1 yard to go. The offense is out on the field. What do you make of this call?
You see a tackle over here again. This is a really popular look for Missouri against South Carolina last year. Let's see if they try and slip the tight end out the back door again.
From deep in their own territory, Crockett runs into a roadblock, second effort. I think he's going to be a little short. Oh, they're going to give him the first down.
Missouri with a player down in the field right now, but Crockett just doing a good job of following his tight end. They bring these guys around a lot, almost as pullers.
There is an injured Missouri player. Now, from the naked eye, it didn't look like Crockett got the push. Now, they may look at this one upstairs. Yasir Durant, part of that mammoth O-line, is the injured player. He goes 6'7", 340, a sophomore out of Philadelphia.
An important cog in this offensive line that's got a fair amount of experience. He's their swing tackle, a guy that you can see on the right side, on the left side, dispel some of the other big bodies up front.
Well, let's see if the spot holds up first of all. But, Mike, what do you make of the call to go for it on fourth down from inside your own 35?
This is something that I'm sure this team has practiced. This is an attitude run and a demeanor-defining play call by your offensive coordinator. You want to show these guys, we believe in your ability up front to go and move these South Carolina D linemen.
Crockett did not have far to go. Initial push, and that initial push may have been the forward progress that he needed to get the spot. Gutsy call by Mariota. Missouri moves the chains. 3:30 to go here in this opening half. Tigers down by 4. Lock off play action. Emmanuel Hall into South Carolina territory. A gain of 20.
South Carolina starting to spin an extra safety down in the box to combat that run game. So Missouri immediately looks to get outside and get the ball to some of their weapons.
They go outside again. That's Jamon Moore out of bounds after another first down, a gain of 12. The Tigers have a little mojo after that fourth down conversion. High snap. Crockett up the middle. Into the secondary. Crockett breaks the tackle and out of bounds near the 10-yard line. A gain of 26. Demarie Crockett closing in on 90 yards rushing in the first half.
And finishing the run against the safety, Chris Lamont. He'll remember that one the next time he has to make a business decision on the back end of a run.
Back to Crockett. Lunges inside the 10, a gain of 3.
Mike, you just talked about finishing the run. Chris Lamont next time better get those pads down and meet Demarie Crockett force with force, because he got all pad right in your chest.
Certainly want to keep an eye on the tight ends down here too as we get towards the red zone. Those big bodies all running about 6'5" plus.
They'll feed Crockett again. And those Ozarks help him to an extra yard, a gain of 1. And third down coming up for Missouri.
You see Drew Lock carrying out those fakes. We talked about how well he sells these. Sneaking out the back door with Kendall Blanton. You have to wonder if at some point they're going to go back to that off play action and try and catch the South Carolina defense peeking.
Third down, Locke pumps. Play breaking down, Locke, end zone, incomplete, intended for more. And it's fourth down for Missouri. And now the field goal unit will come on. Tucker McCann, who's already made a field goal from 43.
Bryson Allen-Williams starting to show up in the picture there. Guy who's played all over the field for them, was a Muschamp recruit back when he was at Florida, and can really fit that hybrid linebacker defensive end role, usually active in the pass rush as well.
And the PAT, no good. The kick was tipped. And the struggles in the kicking game continue for Missouri.
South Carolina continuing to sell out on special teams too. It's a great winning effort for that special teams unit.
All ESPN coverage is streaming live on the ESPN app. Download now and take ESPN everywhere.
Tucker McCann missing a 25-yard field goal. He's now 1 for 2 today, just 50% for his career. And those are big points over the course of his season. And for Missouri, they're outgaining South Carolina 227 to 131, but down 4 points. And the Gamecocks have the ball here late in the first half. Rico Dowdle got a block from his tight end Hurst. And Dowdle ushered after a gain of 5 as we check in with Chris. Lamar Jackson already north of 1,000 yards of total offense on the season. There's Shi Smith, the true freshman, top recruit out of the state of South Carolina, and he's got a first down for the Gamecocks.
Kurt Roper, their offensive coordinator, who spent time with Coach Cutcliffe at Duke, compared him to Jamison Crowder, a guy that they saw there. Great top-end speed, change of direction. Could be a big-time weapon going forward for South Carolina.
Crowder now with the Washington Redskins. Ten seconds to go here in this opening half, and South Carolina content to take a 4-point lead into halftime. Deebo Samuel getting it done, a rushing touchdown, and a 97-yard kick return for a score. 14-10 Gamecocks in this SEC opener between South Carolina and Mizzou. We send you now to the studio and to Chris Cotter. It's all on the Outback Steakhouse halftime report.
Will be to utilize westbound Stadium Boulevard.
Goalie, can you get on headset, please?
Get ready for vacation. Country music.
From Columbia, Missouri, this is the SEC on ESPN. South Carolina leading the Battle of the Columbias 14-10 at the half. It is the SEC opener for both of these teams. The Gamecocks kick it off to begin the second half, and Missouri will have it at the 25-yard line. Eddie Schroff alongside Mike Golick Jr. and Roddy Jones down on the field. We were talking at halftime about complementary football. We've seen that from South Carolina.
It's been big for them all day. Again, the same blueprint we saw last week. A Deebo Samuel return for a touchdown, a blocked kick in the field on the field goal for Missouri, and offense piecing together just enough to be helpful to the rest of this team. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, South Carolina, one touchdown coming off a kick return, another coming off of a turnover. Drew Lock to throw on first down. He's got more near sideline. He's brought to the ground by Rashad Fenton after a first down.
Number 6, Jamon Moore.
Well, I guess you call this regression to the mean, perhaps. Missouri's offense, not as potent or explosive as last week in the first half, but their defense has shown marked improvement.
Especially on third down, really able to keep South Carolina in check in that realm. A big win for Coach Odom, but I have to imagine he's looking for this offense to step up a little more and try and get back some of that big play magic from last week.
Well, we've seen 2 here to open the third quarter, 19 yards by Demetrius Mason. Missouri into South Carolina territory, 1st and 10 from the 45. Lock again to the air. Incomplete. He airmailed Jamon Moore, the top returning wideout in the SEC.
Jamon Moore. Incomplete.
The South Carolina pass rush, it's not always going to get home against a guy who gets the ball out as fast as Drew Lock. But you saw in that last play, Taylor Stallworth getting some push, trying to get his hands up, and just affect the trajectory of a couple of these throws.
On the ground here. Taylor Stallworth on the tackle. Gain of 2 on the carry by Ish Witter. 3rd down. Missouri needs the 35.
This is one of the places where tempo can be effective in a different vein. Getting up to the line quick gives you time to go through a couple different machinations of the snap.
There's the blitz. Picked up. Lock hit as he throws it. And it lands harmlessly to the ground. And that Missouri offensive line was able to hold off the blitz, but the pressure eventually did get to Lock.
Bryson Allen Williams finally showing up big as a pass rusher. A guy, again, you'll see more in that buck linebacker spot. Uses his leverage. He's not an overly tall guy, only 6 foot, but gets that 230 pounds up and under Paul Adams and pushes back that pocket.
Fatoni to punt. Lamons, the deep man. And this one sails over the head of Lamons, takes a bounce at the 10. It's a Tiger roll. It'll be down at the 5-yard line, and that's where the Gamecocks will start. The star in the first half for the Gamecocks, Deebo Samuel, who already has 5 touchdowns in 3 different ways this season.
Just incredible, and adds to the resume tonight. A 97-yard kick return, now the 3rd on his career, and you can see just able to fly, puts his foot in the ground and in the end zone inside 13 seconds. And then they finally get him involved in that run game, give him the end around, clean look into the end zone.
We're going to have a flag on that last play, illegal formation. So South Carolina,
you finally get a win in special teams for Missouri. You take 1 step forward and go 2 back, not being able to get lined up correctly. It's really unfortunate. The special teams gap has been glaring between these 2 teams.
so many times that's where you can make up the difference. This one into the end zone for a touchback.
You look at the change of field position right there. One costly mistake now. Instead of starting with the ball backed up, South Carolina gets it out to their own 20 and gets to go to work.
It's a 15-yard difference.
And that's a 1st down and a half. That's 1 1st down less for South Carolina, a team who's already been opportunistic. We'll see if this offense can take advantage of it.
Coaches used to call that hidden yardage when I was playing. Those are the areas that may not show up in the stat column directly, but are the difference between flipping a field and a lot of times winning and losing games.
Shi Smith goes in motion. Tyson Williams on 1st down, able to pick up 5 to the 25-yard line. Terry Beckner on the stop for Missouri. They hope he can get to full strength. Beckner at one point, the #2 recruit nationally coming out of high school.
And for him, 2 consecutive seasons stopped short by 2 ACL injuries, both on different knees. The mental fortitude to overcome that kind of adversity is why so many of his teammates and coaches are excited for him to be back out here and finally looking like he's got his legs under him.
He started to look a lot better in the second half of last week's game. Missouri State did a lot of stuff early where they would try and cut those defensive linemen. And for a guy who's coming off 2 ACLs, when you see someone coming after those knees, believe me, it makes anybody a little hesitant. But he started to gain that confidence, and Coach Barry Odom said he's starting to feel like himself.
Out of a 3 tight end set, Bentley moves the pocket, directing traffic. Bentley's going to run, and he's out of bounds after he picks up the first down, a gain of 8.
Missouri coaching staff talked about it. You heard Damani Cross say he's just mobile enough to be able to get himself out of some trouble. That time, not a lot open down the field, but uses the void created by all that attention around his star tight end, Hayden Hurst, and picks up the first down.
Into the slot, there's Shi Smith, and the freshman for a gain of 6.
We talk about it a lot with Missouri's offense, but that time you saw some of the run-pass option for South Carolina. Catches Caleb Pruitt, the linebacker, starting to creep inside, worry about the run, throws it outside, and lets his wideout make a play. Those are just as good as a run, by the way. That's what they tell you within the offense, is those catches are just like handing the ball off, just a little bit bigger gap.
We saw a lot of that last week in the win against NC State. Williams showing good patience there as he picks up 6 and a Gamecock first down.
Few more carries for Tyson Williams in the second half, only 3 in the first half, as the ground game outside of one long play from Deebo Samuel really struggled to find itself.
But against a Missouri team that likes to go not just fast, but at hyper speed, how does South Carolina's offensive tempo impact Missouri's offense?
Well, you dictate the pace of play here and you force Missouri to start to get anxious, and that's when we saw some of those mistakes in the first half.
Williams stays in the game at running back. Bentley to Deebo Samuel. Samuel taken down after a nice gain on first, give him 8. 4th catch of the game for Samuel, who's accounted for both South Carolina TDs. Jake Bentley telling us earlier this week, he and Samuel really got in sync, not just on the field, but off the field. They've become very close. There's a chemistry there that transcends the boundaries. Over the middle, too high for Edwards, and it's 3rd down and 1.
You see Missouri starting to understand South Carolina's getting up to the line slow, taking their time, leaning into a lot of these runs. So what are they doing? Moving some D linemen inside, bringing some pressure off the edge, trying to force Jake Bentley's hand into getting some of those balls out to the side and just seeing if they can make a play on it.
So what's South Carolina's counter?
South Carolina's counter, I would put your tight end Hayden Hurst inside and follow him to freedom at this point.
Hurst lined up on the right side of that line. Williams running that way. He's got some freedom. And Tyson Williams takes it to the 30, just like Golick drew it up.
It's a pretty easy formula with a guy like Hayden Hurst. That time, they even bring Deebo Samuel inside to get involved on the play. As if he wasn't doing enough already today, he looks up at Jordan Harold, the former walk-on, and says, anything you guys can do in here, I can do it too.
Hayden Hurst has become such a glue guy, such a leader on this team. A 24-year-old tight end who had a stint playing pro ball in the Pirates organization, pro baseball. Bentley slings it out. And we've got Laundry on the field. Edwards made the catch.
holding on the offense. Number 70, 10-yard penalty for the previous spot. Repeat first down.
Censor Alan Knott.
Correction,
Knott.
the foul was on number 77.
Well, we've got to get the guilty party right. Malik Young, the left tackle.
Having trouble out on the edge again. We highlighted a lot of these Missouri DNs in the first half, and you'll see right here, Malik Young just gets out here and gets edge just enough. Falling down, pulls down the true freshman, Chris Turner.
We said it in the first half. If Missouri is to improve on defense, it has to start up front. Bentley over the middle. He's got Hurst. Touchdown, South Carolina. A 40-yard strike after the holding call.
And you look at the way the team responds to this guy. The coach has said he's a leader by example, and this time, this is the benefit of that great run game. South Carolina had been leaning into the run. Hayden Hurst had been one of their most effective blockers. This time, he finally escapes out. And you look at Cale Garrett just biting enough on that token fake.
Extra point attempt coming by Wozniak.
They call him Big Red, and going around this facility, the way he conducts himself, the way he goes to work every day, you could see this team respond when this guy finally gets in the end zone on the season.
Hayden Hurst only had one catch last week. It went for negative yards. He's been a big part of the offense today in the passing game and in the blocking game.
You've really been able to watch and follow him all night and see where the action is. And that time, Kurt Roper was true to his word. He said last game wasn't for lack of effort of trying to get him the ball. This game, they're just actually getting him the ball.
A chance here for Demetrius Mason. Speeds to the outside and pushed out of bounds near the 30. Sunday, it's the U.S. Open Men's Championship match. Rafa Nadal going for his 16th Grand Slam title, his 3rd U.S. Open title, and he'll take on the big 6'8" South African Kevin Anderson, who is a former NCAA doubles champ at Illinois. As a tennis fan, Nadal's career has been one of the most fascinating to watch. He came in as a one-trick pony, a heck of a one-trick pony, and he's adapted his game to all surfaces, and he's now in the conversation. He's right there. He's probably behind Federer, maybe the 2nd greatest player of all time.
And watching those battles over the years has always been so entertaining. To see 2 all-time greats in their prime is truly a remarkable thing to watch.
And you know, Nadal's gotten the case because head-to-head, he's beaten Federer soundly. The tide has turned a little bit of late as Federer's in the twilight of his career, but I don't think we'll ever see a better player on clay. The way he's transformed his game to grass and the hard courts has been a fascinating watch for the tennis folks. 3rd down coming up for Missouri. Crockett on the carry. And Missouri's got to get some offensive momentum back. Mike, how?
For them, what worked for you in the first half that entire time, it's what they've tried to do again on this line. They're on schedule on this drive. It's just so contrary to what we saw last week. 5 plays of 50-plus yards just hasn't been there for them.
And the big play has been, for the most part, absent. Reese did have a long touchdown catch. Here's the blitz. Locke over the middle. Finds his receiver. And there's Reese again with a big play. 27 more. Jason Reese,
the recipient of a 61-yard touchdown pass in the first half. That time, the O-line, the Ozarks, do a great job of picking up the pressure and giving their quarterback time to operate.
Off play action, Locke, flushed, and he'll throw it away.
We're going to make Ozarks happen, Anish, don't you worry.
You think? You think that'll stick?
It's got some potential.
Drew Lock did approve, right?
He did. We got the seal of approval from the guy that has to deal with these guys when they are hangry. So I have a feeling he can use that now as a trump card if they ever really do look at him sideways across the dinner table.
Locke taking a shot downfield. Caught! Emmanuel Hall. On the ground. And Witter tackled from behind by Jamias Williams.
We talk all night about Jamon Moore, about Jonathan Johnson coming into this game, and who are your two leading receivers? Jason Reese, your tight end, and Emmanuel Hall.
Yeah, go figure.
South Carolina has...
But that's a strength of an offense that saw Drew Lock complete passes to 9 different receivers last week.
That time looking for more, and it's broken up by Fenton. 3rd and goal. And with the struggles in the kicking game, this could be 4-down territory.
Exactly. We've seen it be a problem going all the way back to the first game. Just for kicking, it's such a mental part of the game. And to miss your first extra point of the season, if you're Tucker McCann, could potentially still be something in the back of his mind.
They've got big Albert O, number 81, lined up in the slot, bottom of your screen. Locke looking, end zone, incomplete. And that was Albert O. His full name is Albert Okuegbunam.
There you go. And
From there on out, he is Albert O.
The first bit of advice we got walking into the building this week visiting with Missouri, and that time try and get him on the switch route down here, just ends up really being a post up for the big tight end, who I can tell you is listed at 6'5", 260, even bigger down in person.
And DJ Smith, who had the game-winning pass breakup last week, broke that play up. So McCann now on for a 22-yard field goal. The kick is up, and it is good. So Missouri comes away with 3. They make it a 1-score game. But this is a win for South Carolina, holding the Tigers to just 3.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Chick-fil-A. Start game day strong with the new breakfast hash brown scramble bowl.
Memorial Stadium, home of the Tigers since 1926. The Rock M in the north end zone. One of the noticeable parts of the stadium, the M was made by students from Rock leftover after the construction of the stadium. Missouri will kick it off. Deebo Samuel, who has a kick return touchdown, is back deep. And they wisely kick it away. This one to A.J. Turner. And Turner gets a big pop as he's tackled at the 28-yard line.
That's one way to get some energy back going for this team. Tavon Ross, the linebacker, on a special teams play, and that's the kind of thing that can ignite a sideline in a game that's this close right now with so much at stake for them in the SEC East. This is a really good way to all of a sudden get the crowd back into it the way we're starting to hear now.
Guys, for the first time tonight, like you said, Mike, it's getting a little loud here. The student section is just to the left of the South Carolina offense. You see Jake Bentley having to really yell to communicate.
Shi Smith wrapped up and thrown to the ground by Anthony Sherrills, no gain.
That's a great job by Sherrills chasing it down. Missouri brings pressure, and Jake Bentley identifies, gets the ball out once they've loaded up on the run.
Sherrills hobbling off the field.
And that's a big one, the most experienced player on this defense, the leader in starts and tackles on this defense that saw a lot of youth last week get burned.
Tigers showing blitz. One high safety look, that's Thomas Wilson. Bentley to Hurst, using the stiff arm, and steps out of bounds right at midfield after a gain of 21.
Showing off the catch radius there. Ball's a little behind him, only rushing 4. Comes back for it and then puts a little extra on the finish. Guy finding contact wherever he can get it.
SEC opener for both of these schools. The SEC East, based on early returns, appears wide open. Two tight ends in the game. Dowdle spins across midfield for a gain of 3. And Golic, for these two teams, whoever wins today, your anointed dark horse status in the SEC East.
You really
Florida,
are.
we really don't know what Florida's going to look like. Once everybody comes back, we'll have a better idea. Tennessee in the win against Georgia Tech didn't look great. Georgia is down its starting QB.
Down at starting QB, got a freshman Fromm on the road for his first start in South Bend, all knotted up there. It really is anyone's game in the East Division this year.
Hand off to Dowdle, straight up the gut. He's close to a first down, 3rd and short. And what these two teams have, we said it in the open, they have elite quarterbacks in this conference.
We talked about it being the year of the quarterback. We just didn't know it was going to be these two guys specifically. You look at Jarrett Stidham at Auburn, you look at Jalen Hurts from the defending championship appearing, I should say, Alabama Crimson Tide. But these two guys able to go toe-to-toe with almost anyone in this league.
And both of the guys that you mentioned are on the West. The East is a toss-up when it comes to quarterbacks. These two guys are the proven leaders of their offenses.
Dowdle has the first down, and he dives to the 36.
Running through a Terez Hall tackle, and this is big for Dowdle if they can get him going. Last year, 27 carries, 149 yards, and 3 touchdowns for Dowdle against Missouri. So far been held in check. And it's certainly not for lack of trying on Missouri's part. They are loading up the box to try and stop the run.
Dowdle gets a breather. A.J. Turner using the shoulder, and Turner bullies his way for a few more yards. There is an injured Missouri player down on the field. Man down for Missouri right at the 35-yard line. And now bouncing up.
Never good. He was the recipient of that hit by A.J. Turner, and anytime you see the head hitting the turf there, you usually have to think this is going to go to the sideline and get evaluated for Ronell Perkins.
Ronell Perkins, who did not play last week because of a hamstring injury. South Carolina did not have much success on the ground early. To their credit, they've stayed with it.
Starting to get there. 4.2 yards per carry for South Carolina at this point in the game. That's going to keep you right on schedule.
Here's Turner again, using the blocking from his tight end to pick up a first down as we check in with Chris.
A.J. Turner, the ball carrier. And on the side, number 47, Caleb Garrett. 3-yard gain, first down, hands in.
That's just because they're on the Chris Cotter workout program.
Listen,
that's what that is.
The Mike Golic School of Blocking has turned out greats such as Zach Martin. I feel like he owes me a thank you card at least when that next contract comes.
Bentley checks down to Shi Smith. Cuts it back toward the middle and wrapped up inside the 20.
Bentley's pass complete to number 13, Shi Smith.
Shi Smith been active in those motions all night, and your commitment to the run game is paying off. Starting to see some space open up on the edges.
Now we've seen a lot of multiple tight end looks on this drive from South Carolina. Bentley this time from under center, hands it off to Dowdle, and he cannot get away from the initial defender. Taken down by Cale Garrett, and it's third down.
Cale Garrett, just a second-year player here, played some as a true freshman last year. But the signal caller on this defense, the guy that's going to get everyone set and in place, and as we've seen the improvement from Missouri's defense today, a lot of the credit has to go to him and really this coaching staff. They wanted to put these guys in better positions, and so far it's looked markedly improved from Missouri State.
3rd and 6. Four-man rush. Bentley. He'll step up and run. Tripped up. Stays on his feet. Reaches. And let's see where they mark him. They're going to mark him shy of the first down, about 1.5 yards short. Terry Beckner made the tackle, and it's 4th down. And let's see what Will Muschamp decides to do. He'll bring on the kicking unit. Wozniak to make it an 11-point game.
Had a miss to start the game, so this isn't a guarantee. If you're looking for one flaw in the special teams night so far for South Carolina, it's been the PAT field goal unit.
Only the second career field goal attempt for the redshirt freshman. This one is up and good. A 32-yard field goal by Alexander Wozniak. South Carolina up 2 scores. Sunday night baseball. It's the Orioles and the streaking Cleveland Indians. The Tribe has won 17 in a row. It's the longest win streak since the A's won 20 straight in 2002. And it's the second win streak since 1961 of at least 17 games. Does Cleveland win its first World Series since 1948?
Seems to be on that collision course right now. Somewhere my father is enjoying a beverage in South Bend and smiling at the Tribe, continuing to make the land proud.
Yeah, they're trying to break the curse of Rocky Colavito. Mizzou ball from the 25-yard line with 18 seconds left in the third.
Yeah, it looked all right, I guess. Big night for Brandon Wimbush so far. 9-16 for $114. Although I heard Georgia, the invasion of South Bend is on, apparently.
How does that make you feel where, again, I'm not saying you believe everything you see online, but people were saying, I mean, it's 40, maybe 45% of the crowd.
#1 business school in the country. They're making prudent business decisions when that money comes in as offerings for those tickets.
Locke scampers out of bounds after a positive pickup. Well, for Georgia, this is a big road test for a true freshman quarterback in Jake Fromm. Jacob Eason out with an injury. They're taking it week to week. And there's a lot of folks in Athens who think Fromm could be not just the short term, but also the long-term answer.
Fromm with the note that made me feel oldest this week, a participant in the 2011 Little League World Series.
Warner Robins, Georgia, as Ish Witter is tackled right at the marker. A first down for South Carolina as we have reached the end of 3 quarters. Only 1 touchdown in that third quarter. Jake Bentley to Big Red. Hayden Hurst, 24-13, South Carolina through 3.
All ESPN coverage is streaming live on the ESPN app. Download now and take ESPN everywhere.
Fourth quarter here on the campus of the University of Missouri. It's the SEC on ESPN. It's the SEC opener between Missouri and South Carolina. And the home team down by 11. That's what Golick was doing last night.
A little moving like Bernie. Haven't seen that one in years.
No gain by Ish Witter. You got all the dance moves. You were playing DJ.
You get the prime real estate by the jukebox, Anish, and you've got a civic duty. You've got a responsibility to the rest of the patrons. I like to think we took that seriously.
I thought we did a pretty good job. Locke over the middle, and it's dropped. Dropped by Jamon Moore. That would have been a first down.
We saw some of that in the first half from Jamon Moore. That's his second drop of the night. Not what you're used to seeing out of a guy who was coming into the night with 4 straight games of 130-plus yards. That time, kind of growing some eyes out of the side of his head.
Blanton split wide, 3rd and 10. Witter in the backfield. He is an outstanding pass blocker. incomplete. He wanted Blanton, and it's 4th down. And you mentioned the drops from Moore. We have not heard really from Jonathan Johnson at all today. And this is an interesting statistic. Through 3 quarters, both teams ran the same amount of plays. Some coaches will tell you time of possession does not matter. In a game like this, does it?
It does when it marries up with your philosophy. And for South Carolina, they know going into this game, they don't have a ton of depth on defense. And so what helps that? Long, drawn-out drives that give your guys a chance to catch their breath.
Snap infraction, offense number 86. 5-yard penalty. It remains 4th down.
Anish talked about mental errors on defense last game really being a killer for Missouri. Special teams seems to have taken the baton for this one. Another special teams penalty that ends up costing field position, likely on the back end.
That was on the long snapper, James Workman. Tony takes this one away. Lamont's retreating over his head. Takes a Missouri bounce. And kicked.
61-yard punt, no return.
And they're going to mark it down at the 10-yard line where it was first touched.
Did I say unless the punter bails you out?
Yeah.
Because I meant unless the punter bails you out with a great kick.
Ball will be awarded to receivers at the spot of the touching.
Jake Bentley,
First down.
who skipped his senior year of high school, the entire season, to enroll early at South Carolina. He wanted to play with his dad. The assumption was he would redshirt. They pulled his redshirt mid-season, and that was the catalyst to South Carolina making a second-half run and getting to a bowl game.
And really the big catalyst was the win against Missouri last season. 3-0 after beating Missouri. A real great start to his campaign as the man around campus here in South Carolina.
Tiger fans, the current play is under review.
Official review here.
Not sure if they're reviewing the spot on this
or if it was touched.
Have to imagine with that pretty drastic bounce towards the end zone that there was enough of a touch to mark this down, but they'll take a look and see. You talk about Jake Bentley, though, coming to South Carolina, having the chance to be here around his dad. Listen, as someone who knows a little bit about this.
After review, following the illegal touching, the ball proceeded into the end zone. The ball's not dead after illegal touching. Therefore, the result of the play is a touchback. First.
Wow.
So they'll put it up at the 20-yard line. Now that was the confusion initially. Now the ball bounced. Did they mark it dead? Did they blow the whistle where it was touched, or did they let it play through? Barry Odom not happy, but they got the call right. South Carolina with the ball at the 20-yard line.
And yet another tough special teams miscue for Missouri.
Now we've seen a few of those today. That's been a big difference in this game. South Carolina has a special teams touchdown. Missouri more yards, but the Gamecocks have a 2-score lead. Bentley is going to take a shot downfield for Debo, and it lands incomplete. Covered that time by Logan Cheadle, who is the cousin of famous Hollywood actor Don Cheadle.
Ocean's 11 star Don Cheadle. Best believe if I'm a teammate, I have a lot of questions about the filming of that movie.
What's your beef with Ocean's 11?
There's no beef. I just want insight and stories from the set. What an all-star cast for one of my all-time favorite movies. I'd be insufferable in that locker room.
You would tell everybody you shook Sinatra's hand. Dowdle breaks the initial tackle, gets a couple. Chris Cotter with an update on Stanford USC. A defensive struggle. Sooners, Buckeyes, crucial game that could impact The college football playoff down the road. On third down, Bentley gets away from Frazier, throws it incomplete, and Missouri's defense comes up with a big stop.
And this is really the gamble you take when you go for a shot play on first down, the way South Carolina did earlier. But this time, bringing some pressure up the middle, and for a guy who's not the most mobile quarterback, the worst place that you can get pressure is in your face. That time, Missouri doing enough to move him off his spot and make him uncomfortable enough to just sail that pass.
Jonathan Johnson will return this punt by Charlton. Johnson, who had 100 yards receiving last week without a catch today, with a chance to do something in the return game. Fair catch is signaled for. Recovered by South Carolina. Did it hit a Missouri player first? It looked like it hit Johnson, and if South Carolina recovered, they've got the ball. Oh, Missouri was able to cover it up. Big break for the Tigers. It has been a disastrous night on special teams for Mizzou.
It looked like it was about to get worse. Looked like Jonathan Johnson actually was contacted. Oh!
Now they're saying South Carolina recovered it. The initial signal said Missouri ball. They've changed the call. South Carolina football. Javon Charleston recovered the muffed punt. And the Gamecocks get the ball back now in plus territory.
His own player seemingly tangled up with someone on punt coverage, gets blocked into Jonathan Johnson, so no illegal contact from anyone on South Carolina.
Exactly.
When it rains, it pours on special teams tonight for Missouri.
Crowd not happy. On first down, South Carolina keeps it on the ground. That's Williams for a yard. A transfer from North Carolina who just turned 21 this past Monday.
You would have almost liked to flip the mantra for the last two series for South Carolina. Went shot play on first down in the last series, didn't recover, and then all of a sudden was off their mark on second down, had trouble getting back out in front of the chains. Here, content to try and lean on this Missouri defense with a short field.
Bentley pumps, rolls to his right, and throws it away. Took a big hit in the backfield, but no flag. Brandon Lee with the pressure.
Saw the pump, breaks the pocket, just trying to make anything happen, and Lee with some great closing speed there to put the hit on.
Well, Missouri's defense can bail out its special teams with a stop here. 3rd and 9.
We've talked a lot about complementary football, Anish. This would be a great time for the Missouri defense to help out in a way that could maybe give the stadium enough life to try and will them back into it.
Four-man rush. Bentley has Samuel. Samuel fighting for yardage and picks up the first down. That has to be a backbreaker for the defense.
This is what we saw all last week for Missouri on third down. Just an inability to get off, just enough for Deebo Samuel here. You see him, the little hesitation creates enough space for him to get by and get the first down yardage. Missouri knows how this feels, and when you start to feel some of the same things that got you last week creep into this game, it can be tremendously deflating for a defensive unit.
South Carolina 122 yards after the catch today. On the read, here's Williams, cuts it back. Tyson Williams into space to the outside. Williams for the end zone. And he is going to be marked out of bounds at the 1-yard line.
This is one of the other uses for Deebo Samuel that you'll see going across in motion, gets those linebackers to shift out just a little bit.
And they may look at this one upstairs.
The ruling on the field is that the runner was short of the goal line. The previous play is under review.
one of the referees, as you saw one of the officials, went sprawling to the ground as Williams made his way toward the sideline, and he made the call that Williams was out at the 1 yard line.
A little hard to see laid out on the ground.
Where's the ball when he goes out?
Seems like he was able to reach it over with that left hand before that foot comes out of bounds.
Before that right foot comes down. That goal line extends all the way out of bounds.
There's a great shot right there. You see the left foot in bounds and that left arm just reaching across. All he needs is the point of the ball to cross that white.
And the side judge, he's right there. So he's on his feet to make the call. Now, right there, before that right foot goes out of bounds, did that ball cross the goal line? From there, it appears he might have a touchdown.
Looking from this sideline view, and this is really the one, you get a good window here. Left foot in bounds, left arm starts to reach across, and before anything comes down out of bounds, that ball looks like it crosses the goal line. After a hell of a run, you saw him put that foot in the ground and wind all the way back across that.
Ruling on the field stands. It's first down.
Apparently didn't see enough. That's one of those where the call on the field a lot of times can dictate. If they don't believe they can see absolutely enough to overturn, we get first and goal.
Indisputable video evidence is needed. They didn't see it.
2 trips to the red zone tonight for South Carolina. No touchdowns. 1 field goal to show for their efforts so far. This would be a big moment in this game if they really want to start to put this away.
Samuel in motion. Williams breaks 1 tackle, and then Terez Hall helped to take him down for a loss of a yard, 2nd and goal. The red zone offenses for both teams has not been strong tonight.
No, and great hands on the D-line, getting into the backfield. Penetration absolutely killing zone run plays.
That was Beckner on the initial push.
Former number 2 player in the ESPN 300, starting to flash some of that ability as he gets further and further away from those knee injuries.
Last 2 seasons for Beckner cut short due to torn ACLs. Bentley rolling out, open receiver, and Joe Edwards incomplete. 3rd and goal. Now in that case, the ball is allowed to hit the ground, but you can't use the ground essentially as a 3rd hand. And the side judge again.
If you're Jake Bentley, you've got to get that ball up and give your receiver a chance. You've got a big body wide receiver who can use that frame to shield the defender, but that time just has to go too low.
Yeah, he could not control it. That comes out, 3rd and goal, good call. What's the call here, goalie?
Right here, I would let those tight ends go to work in the blocking scheme. We've seen Deebo Samuel and Hayden Hurst work together.
How about this? They're going to give it to Hurst. Hurst bullies his way in for 6. Feed Big Red.
The tight end handoff for the touchdown, digging deep into the playbook, is Kurt Roper. Little bit of everything on that play. Great change of direction, and then just lowers the shoulder. You know when this guy smells the end zone, he is not going to be denied.
How about that play call by Kurt Roper? Hayden Hurst. A receiving a touchdown and a rushing a touchdown. Extra point is good. And South Carolina now with a 31-13 lead. One more look at that score by Big Red.
Following to freedom, goes right behind his tight end brother and finds pay dirt.
(31-13) South Carolina on a touchdown run by, yes, that man, the tight end, Hayden Hurst. And now 2 weeks in a row, South Carolina has scored 14 points off turnovers, and the Gamecocks have a special teams touchdown. Here comes Mason. Mason to the 25-yard line. Back to the studio and Chris.
Return by Mason.
Thank you, Chris. Here it's 31-13 South Carolina as Missouri looks to spark an offense which did put up 72 points last week. Here's Ish Witter. Spun to the ground at the 31-yard line, a gain of 6. Now go figure. Last week, Missouri, I know the opponent was an FCS school, and an FCS school that won just 4 games last year, but the numbers were eye-popping. Emmanuel Hall. Bubble screen, Hall to the outside, and pushed out of bounds.
Emmanuel Hall, really your only consistent performer at wide receiver tonight. 2 uncharacteristic drops from Jamon Moore. No sight of Jonathan Johnson.
First down reception by Hall. He was marked out at the 39. Now Locke against a 3-man rush. Throws downfield, intercepted. Bryson Allen Williams, and another turnover committed by Mizzou.
Deflection there to give Bryson Allen Williams a chance. He waves goodbye to a crowd that is streaming towards the exit at this point. Again, just the 3-man rush here. And Bryson Allen Williams, one of the more versatile defensive pieces on this unit, just playing right underneath, sees the ball get tipped and makes an easy play.
How about the play by Dante Sawyer to get out there? And he knew he wasn't going to get to Drew Lock once he wound up to throw it. So he just waved his hands in the air, got the tip, created the turnover. And if South Carolina is able to put the ball in the end zone here, you got to think it's too much of a battle to climb for Missouri to get back in this game.
Prior to snap, timeout, South Carolina. First timeout of the half.
Will Muschamp calls a timeout. South Carolina had an impressive win in week 1, neutral site against NC State. Now up 18 on the road here in the 4th. This week's AP poll brought to you by Capital One. Alabama, the king right now. They were the national runner-up last year. The defending champion Clemson taking on Auburn as we speak. Ohio State at number 2. They may get some first-place votes if they can knock off Oklahoma, sitting at number 5. That game also going on right now. No SEC East team.
We see one here tonight. It's got the potential to make some noise.
Tyson Williams got a block from Hurst and picks up about a yard. What is South Carolina's ceiling, Mike, in the SEC right now?
I think this is a team that has a legitimate chance to win the SEC East. You look at what you need to build around. You've got the quarterback. You've got Rico Dowdle. So many of your yards came from first and second year players last year. So you got a lot of that experience built up. The only thing that could hold you back is that defensive depth if it really gets tested. But if you look at tonight in the offense, they were tasked with slowing down. Mission accomplished, and check off another box.
Williams to the 45, 3rd down. Roddy, when you look at South Carolina's schedule, the first 4 games, at least going into the season, I saw these as 4 toss-up games, but all winnable games. Louisiana Tech even, that's a team that's been in the Conference USA Championship game 2 of the last 3 years.
Well, South Carolina is going to be in every game and really can win every game as long as they continue to play like they're playing tonight. If you don't beat yourself and you force the other team to beat you, it's going to be really tough with the talent that this team has, particularly to run the football with Jake Brantley at quarterback who doesn't make mistakes, able to find a guy like Deebo Samuels who's explosive. They're going to be really, really tough to beat because they don't beat themselves.
A.J. Turner breaks 1 tackle, and he's across the 40 couple of yards shy of the marker. It'll bring up 4th down, and if you're Will Muschamp and Kurt Roper, do you go for it here and try to just drive home the final nail?
You see big Hayden Hurst coming in from the sideline, and it looks like they've made up their mind. All your weapons on the field: Deebo Samuel, Hayden Hurst, Rico Dowdle coming in right now. This is what you look for as a group up front, by the way. A chance to put the game away. You look to the sideline and say, Coach, put it on us.
2 tight ends, both to the right. Missouri crowds the box. Play clock to 0.
Delay of game, offense, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Stall tactic.
Get a little extra room on the punt and see if you can pin them back here and make them go the long field. None of those explosive plays have really been in the cards for Missouri tonight, so you know this is going to be an uphill battle at this point.
Yeah, you don't count the Tigers out, though, because of that quick strike offense. But down 18 right now. That's 3 scores. And Mizzou gets it at the 20.
43-yard punt, no return.
7 minutes to go in regulation. Missouri looking to make a comeback. South Carolina looking for an SEC win at its conference opener.
Right now, you're watching that. While Dari, Gene, and Chris are watching this, doing that, and talking to this guy. Which means you can watch it all later when you tune in to SEC Now. Tonight on the SEC Network.
In the SEC right now, South Carolina has done a pretty good job against this Missouri offense, which was so explosive a week ago. And how have they been able to contain the Tigers? Because you look at the yards, 356 yards. That's not a small total, but then you look at the scoreboard, only 13 points.
You forced them inside and forced them away from the big plays that were the calling card for this offense. South Carolina has been content to play the numbers game on the outside, saying you're not going to beat us throwing smoke on the outside, getting these big chunk plays, and Missouri just hasn't been patient. Their run game was working, 16 for 98 for Demarie Crockett in the first half, and they've just gone away from it completely.
There's Mason, tackled by Jamarcus King.
But again, when you're South Carolina and you're taking chances and you're making points off turnovers, you put Missouri in that uncomfortable situation where they've got to press.
Back to Mason. And another first down by Demetrius Mason.
And now if you're South Carolina up front, you've got to really sell out in the pass rush. You relish these opportunities to pin your ears back as a defensive line and try and get after the quarterback in these obvious throwing situations.
Three-man rush. Lott pumps twice, 3 times, and finally dropped in the backfield. That's DJ Wanham. This defensive line for the Gamecocks was a huge question mark coming into the season. They've done okay through 2 games.
Wanham's a guy who made his first start last week, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and that play just keeps working on the 3-man rush.
Little screen pass. Witter falls in front of Sky Moore. 3rd down and 8 coming up.
I think the other part of slowing down this Missouri offense was South Carolina dictated that Missouri run early in this game. So Drew Lock wasn't really able to get in the rhythm with those little smoke throws to the outside. Started to press a little bit. You saw some mistakes, the interception obviously. We haven't seen Drew Lock be able to get in that rhythm like he was in last week when he completed those easy throws early.
Now back to Witter. Breaks the tackle. And then Pyle drives through the 35 to the 34. And you know, Demarie Crockett, Roddy, in that first half ran for 90 yards, only 7 in the second half. And we haven't seen much of him really in this second half, we've seen a lot of Witter, and a lot of that is because Missouri's been down. They've had to go to the air.
He looks fine on the sideline, but you said it. Missouri's had to go more to the air game, and Ish Witter is a proven pass blocker. They want him in that situation.
Three-man rush working for South Carolina right now as Locke escapes out of bounds.
And that's huge. We talked about the Ozarks and this offensive line early on, but when you get into these situations now where you've basically got money downs every play, they know you're going to the air, you know you're going to the air, and it's man-on-man saying, how are you going to stop it, especially when you get a couple of double teams up there on just a three-man rush.
And let's give some credit to the South Carolina back end. They have done such a good job. How many times have we seen Drew Lock sitting there with nowhere to go with the football?
Witter powering inside the 15. That's a 20-yard run. He's up to 71 yards rushing.
South Carolina more than content to just keep everything in front of them and let that clock tick away, now under 4 minutes.
Back to Witter, back to the ground, and he's stopped by Moore.
Mike, it's like the 4-minute defense. You know, if you're on offense and you're running the 4-minute offense, you're trying to run the clock out. The 4-minute defense is when you're content to let everything up in front of you and you come up and make the tackle. Just watch the seconds peel off that clock.
There's Witter again. Runs into a swarm of white shirts. Third down.
It's really amazing. We know how fast this Missouri offense can score. We've heard all about the pace of play leading up to this week, and yet right now, with basically 3 minutes left in this game, there doesn't seem to be a lot of sense of urgency for them down in the red zone.
And I'm a little surprised that they haven't taken a single shot on this drive.
Jonathan Johnson in the slot up top, still without a reception. Locke's pass incomplete, intended for Reese, and it's fourth down. Offense staying out on the field. Down 18. A field goal does make it a 2-score game. They're down 3 scores anyway.
It just seems lethargic right now for Missouri.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to be a lot of life in a point in time where, to your point, you're not completely out of this game.
Listen, we've seen stranger things in college football. End zone, caught, touchdown. Finally, a Jonathan Johnson sighting with 2:46 to go in regulation. His first catch of the game, his third touchdown of the season.
Saw the ball get punched out near the end of the play, but wondering if he held on just long enough in the end zone.
Now, the previous play is under review.
Does he, what they like to say, complete the catch?
And from there, it really doesn't look like it. What a great job by South Carolina, even if the call stands and the touchdown's still there, of actively trying to punch the ball out. And again, it's Jamias Williams, the freshman nickelback, who we've seen show up and put his imprint on this game time and time again.
That's something that you see from this South Carolina team on film. They actively go after the ball, whether it's a ball carrier trying to get the ball out and force a fumble, or here on a pass play, you don't give up on the play, even though the ball's in the receiver's hands, and you at least make it questionable. You at least make them go and take a look.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. Right there, when he comes down with the ball and 1 foot is in, if that's the completed catch, that's a touchdown. What happens afterwards really is irrelevant.
After further review, the pass is incomplete. Therefore, South Carolina ball, 1st and 10 on the 14-yard line.
And they ruled, again, he never had control of the ball.
And that's an incredible, well-coached play from the freshman there, a high-profile recruit. But give credit to Will Muschamp and this defensive coaching staff, Coach Robinson and company. Those are things that are taught very much at the second level, at the next level, I should say, in the NFL, where you've got defense trying to punch and strip. Now the college team doing it very well.
2:46 left in regulation. Will Muschamp and the Gamecocks headed to 2-0. 1 NFL Sunday kicks off with ESPN because we've got a new time and a new team. The Sunday NFL Countdown begins at 10 a.m. Eastern with Rex Ryan, Charles Woodson, Matt Hasselbeck, Randy Moss, Mort Shefty, and our new host, Samantha Ponder. It's also streaming live on the ESPN app. A lot of great division rivalries tomorrow. Jets, Bills, Giants, Cowboys. Williams, Tornadoes ahead for a yard. South Carolina headed to a 2-0 start, a road win against Missouri, and they came into this game as an underdog. This according to our former colleagues, friends in the desert.
Yes, and we expected a lot more points out of tonight. Instead, what we've seen is a team's really growing up here in a road environment and looks primed to try and insert themselves very prominently in the SEC East picture.
Road win, a neutral site win against an NC State team many thought could be a sleeper in the ACC Atlantic. Our colleague Cole Kubelik was very high on NC State before the season.
It was a fun week for the Final Four pick.
That's right.
For this South Carolina team, you're seeing the dividends pay off from last season, where in the first game of the season, you had 16 freshmen or newcomers playing in week 1. You had the only team in college football where freshmen accounted for the leader in the team in rushing and passing in Dowdle and Bentley. And now you see all of that maturity, that season of work and effort paying off here in a big game tonight.
3rd and 1. South Carolina will milk some clock here. Deebo Samuel, 2 more touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, a return touchdown again. 5 TDs already through 2 games. Williams able to move the chains. Monday Night Football is a Week 1 doubleheader at 6:55 p.m. Eastern. Adrian Peterson, now a member of the Saints, returns to Minnesota to face his old team where he spent a decade. And then you've got the Chargers, now the Los Angeles Chargers against the Broncos. Second most rushing yards amongst active players. 2012, one of the greatest seasons we've seen, period. He was, what, within 8 or 9 yards of breaking Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record.
Coming off of a brutal knee injury, you hear the stories about Adrian Peterson and his recovery and his rehab process, and he's just sort of a guy that defies human nature and came back and had one of the best seasons we've ever seen.
South Carolina into victory formation, and that'll do it. How about the Gamecocks? 2-0 for the first time since 2012, and I think you can anoint this team as a dark horse in the SEC East.
And I think we have to start talking about Deebo Samuel as a Heisman Trophy contender early going in the season here. This is a guy you said 5 touchdowns through 2 games and does it every way possible. He fills up the stat sheets every single night.
Our final score here from Columbia, Missouri. It's the team from Columbia, South Carolina, going on the road and going home with an 18-point win. Next on ESPN2, we go back to the studio with Chris Cotter, Chip Kelly, and Jonathan Vilma. They'll update you with scores from around the country and highlights from the rest of the FBS. Thanks for watching. Good night from Como.
Gotta get the light. Huh? So we gotta get the light. University of Missouri opponent of athletics. We'd like to thank you for attending tonight's game. For your support. Coach, your defense was fantastic in the red zone, keeping them out of the end zone once they crossed the 20. What was the key to that?
Well, we spent a lot of time in the red area. That's part of who we are, and we knew they were going to gain some yards. We gave them the one explosive play, which was disappointing, a couple runs in the first half, but get down in the red zone and play good red zone defense, and we did that.
for the second week in a row, you have a special team touchdown. You have 14 points off turnover. What's the key to the performance non-offensive?
We spend a lot of time on special teams, and our best players play special teams. Debo Samuel's a fantastic player. Javon Charlton made a fantastic play on the punt where he pushed their gunner into their guy, which is obviously our ball after the fumble, but it was a great team win. We answered after a score offensively. We answered on special teams. We answered in a lot of areas. Really proud of our guys coming on the road. We needed this.
You talked to us about being physical in the run game. You guys seem to wear them down towards the end. How would you assess your performance there?
Well, I was proud we got a first down when we needed it, and they knew we were going to run it, so that's good.
Absolutely. Last thing, Coach, the play that Jahmias made at the end, competitiveness, what does that say about the competitive nature of your team?
Well, that's one of the talents he has as a young man, is competitive edge. And that's the type of young men we're going to keep rolling with. Guys are going to go compete all the time. It's never over till the whistle blows. Really proud of our guys.
Getting off to a 1-0 start in SEC play, what's it mean for you?
Well, 1-0, you got a chance to be 2-0.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, take care. Thank y'all.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
Debo, for the second week in a row, the first kickoff that you get your hands on, you take to the house. What's going through your mind as you stand back there waiting for the ball?
I mean, I believe in I believe in Coach. Hold on, excuse me. I believe in Coach Hustler and the plan that he set up for us. And I mean, when you see a crease, they got you at returning for a reason to return kicks.
So, before that play, you hadn't touched the ball a lot, but then you scored 2 touchdowns in 13 game seconds. When you're not getting the ball, what's your mentality?
I mean, I just got to contribute to the team and do whatever Coach asked me to do.
You were able to score in the run game. You were able to score and affect the game in so many different ways. Your mentality coming in and week out, what is it?
I mean, we start off on Sundays. I mean, we go in every week. Coach put pressure on us to come out here and make plays and take advantage of when we're going on the road.
How much pride do you take in providing that explosive play to help boost up the sideline? What do you think that does for your teammates?
I mean, I think that pushes our team on kickoff return, and also give a defense a boost and give them energy because it give us the offense a rest.
Thanks, Debo. Congrats on the win.
No problem. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Jake, first SEC game, you come in on the road and win it. What does it do for this team going forward?
I think it gives us momentum for the rest of the season. We got a big SEC game next week too, but it really was just a team win for us, and that's the big thing we worked on this offseason, getting closer together as a team, playing for one another. I think it really showed tonight.
It seemed like you guys wore them down in the run game. As a quarterback, did you kind of feel like they were getting tired and you guys were able to do whatever you wanted to on the ground?
Yeah, we just stayed at it. You know, the first half, it wasn't working all that well, and we just really stayed at it. The offensive line did a great job making some big holes for us, and running backs did a good job hitting them.
One of the guys that made some plays for you was Hayden Hurst. He hadn't touched the ball a lot last game, hadn't touched the ball a lot until that touchdown. What do you say about his mentality? What does that do for your offense?
He's so unselfish. If he didn't get a catch all game, he would have been just as happy as he did getting 2 touchdowns. And he's just an outstanding teammate. But to get him involved really gives us another weapon. Brian, Debo, and Hayden now really getting involved in our offense.